Two people, same city, same income, same year. One buys a house at 25, the other rents and invests the difference. 15 years later, at age 40, we open the books. We look at the actual numbers: net worth, monthly cash flow, flexibility, stress, everything. And the answer is not what most people expect, because the buying is always better than renting rule that your parents told you, and that every real estate agent will tell you, is not a rule. It's an assumption, and like most financial assumptions, it depends entirely on numbers that nobody bothers to calculate. Today, we calculate them. Meet Alex, age 25. Just started a decent job, making $70,000 a year. Alex does what everyone says you should do. Buys a house. The house costs $350,000. Alex puts down 10%, $35,000. That's the savings Alex spent 3 years building. Gone in one transaction. The mortgage, $315,000 at 6.8% interest over 30 years. Monthly payment, $2,050. But that's just the mortgage. Add property taxes, roughly $350 a month in most American cities. Add homeowners insurance, $150 a month. Add maintenance. Financial planners recommend budgeting 1% of home value per year, so roughly $290 a month. That's $2,840 a month total just to own this house. In year 1, Alex pays $2,840 a month. Of that mortgage payment, roughly $1,785 goes to interest. Only $265 goes to actual principal, actual equity. The bank gets most of Alex's money for years before the math starts shifting. But the house is appreciating. Nationally, homes have appreciated at roughly 4% per year on average over the long term. On a $350,000 house, that's $14,000 in paper value added per year. By age 40, 15 years later, Alex's house is worth approximately $630,000. The mortgage balance is down to roughly $265,000. Alex's equity, $365,000. That sounds incredible, until you look at what Alex actually paid to get there. Over 15 years, Alex paid $369,000 in mortgage payments, $63,000 in property taxes, $27,000 in insurance, $52,500 in maintenance and repairs. Total out-of-pocket over 15 years, $511,500. Equity gained, $365,000. Alex spent $511,500 and has $365,000 in equity to show for it. That's a net loss of $146,500 before accounting for the opportunity cost of that $35,000 down payment. And Alex can't easily access that equity without selling the house or taking out another loan. Now meet Jordan. Same age, same income, same city. Jordan rents. A similar apartment costs $1,800 a month. That's $1,040 less per month than Alex is paying for the equivalent space. Jordan takes that $1,040 difference every single month and invests it into a low-cost index fund tracking the S&P 500, which has returned an average of roughly 10% annually over the long term. Jordan also keeps that $35,000 that Alex used as a down payment, invests that too. Let's run the numbers after 15 years. $35,000 invested at age 25 at 10% annual return equals $146,000 at age 40. $1,040 invested monthly for 15 years at 10% annual return equals $426,000. Jordan's total investment portfolio at age 40, approximately $572,000. Liquid, accessible, diversified, not tied to one asset in one city. Jordan also had significantly more flexibility over those 15 years. When a better job opportunity came up in another city, Jordan took it. When the neighborhood changed, Jordan moved. When income dropped for a year, Jordan paused investments temporarily without risking foreclosure. Jordan also never replaced a water heater, never fixed a roof, never dealt with a foundation issue, never paid property taxes. But Jordan also never built the emotional satisfaction of ownership, never painted the walls any color, never had the stability of knowing nobody could raise the rent, never had a place that was truly, legally theirs. So at age 40, who wins? On pure net worth, Alex, $365,000 in home equity. Jordan, $572,000 in liquid investments. Jordan wins financially by $207,000. But this isn't the whole picture. Alex's house has also been a forced savings account. Alex was never tempted to spend that equity on a vacation or a car. The mortgage payment was automatic, non-negotiable discipline. Many people, if they're honest, would not have invested that $1,040 difference every month. They would have spent it. If Jordan spent even half of that difference instead of investing it, the math flips completely. Alex also has inflation protection. Rent goes up. A fixed mortgage payment doesn't. In year 15, Alex is still paying $2,050 a month on the mortgage, while Jordan's rent has likely risen from $1,800 to $2,600 or more. That gap matters, and Alex is building toward a paid-off house. At 55, Alex's mortgage is gone. Monthly housing costs drop from $2,840 to $790. Just taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Jordan will still be paying rent at 55, and at 65, and at 75. The renter's advantage is front-loaded. The owner's advantage is back-loaded. The honest answer is, it depends on 5 things that most people never calculate before buying. 1. How long you stay. Buying only beats renting if you stay long enough to absorb the transaction costs. Real estate agents take 5 to 6% when you sell. If you buy and sell within 5 years, you almost certainly lose money compared to renting. The break-even point in most American cities right now is 6 to 8 years minimum. 2. Your local market. In San Francisco, home prices have outpaced the S&P 500 for decades. In many Midwest cities, they haven't. Location changes everything. 3. Whether you actually invest the difference. The renter math only works if Jordan actually invests that $1,040 every month. Most people don't. They spend it. If you know you won't invest the difference, buying is probably better for you as a forced savings mechanism. 4. Your opportunity cost. That down payment is real money with a real alternative use. In a high-return investment environment, a large down payment has significant opportunity cost. 5. Your life stage. A 25-year-old who might move for career opportunities in the next 5 years is taking a real financial risk by buying. A 35-year-old with a stable job in a city they plan to stay in for 20 years. The math shifts dramatically toward buying. So, who wins? At age 40 in this scenario, Jordan the renter wins financially by $207,000. But Jordan wins only because of discipline that most people don't have. And Jordan loses the security, stability, and long-term cost advantages that Alex will enjoy from age 55 onward. The real answer isn't buying is better or renting is better. The real answer is buying is better when you're staying, your market is strong, and you can absorb the costs. Renting is better when you're mobile, your investment discipline is real, and you're in an expensive market with a long break-even horizon. The people who lose are the ones who buy because everyone said they should, without running the numbers. And the people who lose on the other side are the renters who told themselves they were investing the difference and didn't. Run your own numbers. The answer is different for every city, every income, every life.